All right, my friends, listen, I'm going to get on to some current recent events and other talking points. And man, my thoughts are really building up. And so I'm going to try to go quickly here. But stuff the mainstream media will spend a long time on, like these mass shootings, I'm not going to. I mean, these are evil, demonically possessed gods, these idiots. And, like I said, if every one of them was shot down on the spot when they're caught red handed like that, I don't have any remorse, compunction about that. I mean, I don't believe in death. So, while I'm opposed to capital punishment, uh, nonetheless, when people are caught red handed, and today with science and DNA, I mean, we could be pretty much certain. But before that, we know for a fact, it's a matter of record, that innocent people have been executed in the past, and that alone is enough reason to, not have capital punishment. But and I don't want to be the executioner. So, but I could be a cop and I could shoot some clown like that down. I could shoot him like a dog. I mean, I know he's just a human, but in the protection of women and children and innocent people, I mean, yeah. I could certainly live with myself from gunning down a masked shooter. That's where I'm coming from. So, and I'm not afraid of these people. I mean, you know what? Freaks. I mean, they can run you over with a car if they want to. I mean, hey, you know what? I can't live my life that way. Life's too short to worry about demonically possessed freaks out there, man. Okay, they're idiots. And remember, it's emblematic. It's indicative of our society where we're at this point. And Satan's going crazy because he knows his time is almost up. Okay, the jig is almost up for these evildoers at the top. Okay, so that's the good news. The good guys are going to win this. So I want to make sure everybody knows I'm very encouraging, very positive, very uplifting, and I'm very optimistic for the future. Because I know who's going to win this thing. The good guys. So, I wonder why more pundits out there, and preachers in particular, don't just spit it out about money being the root of all evil. And then I think, well, they're getting a lot of money from their congregations, right? They pay the tithe, and if the congregation, they hear that this, oh, well, you hate money, well, hey, I'll give my tithe somewhere else. So you see, there's ulterior motives, and I don't need to go to seminary to preach the gospel. Okay, that's a bunch of bull in and of itself. Okay, this is but yeah, I'm let down by preachers that don't spit it out, that just tell the public, tell the world what God wants you to know. Money is a false competing God. You cannot serve two masters. The love of money is a root of all evil, not some. Okay, and it must go. The world of tomorrow contains no form of money in any of its sundry incarnations. That's simple. How many preachers out there? I'm a preacher that'll tell you that. Okay, that's it. Cut and dry. Keep it simple. A child can understand. No form of money. What don't you understand? No form of money. When I blame Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama for destabilizing Latin America, okay, that I'm not just pulling that out of my ear. Okay, this comes from watching the Kaiser Report and Max and Stacy interviewing a very renowned journalist whose name I can't think of right now, but it's a name of record, a Mexican journalist, intellectual guy, smart, in the know, knows the ins and outs of what's going on down there in Latin America, and he said it was them that did this. And I can only surmise how that was done by appealing to corruptible persons in positions of leadership to sell out to the bankster class and become their lapdogs, like was done in America. Okay, Barack Obama was hugely instrumental in that '08 bailout. Barack Obama is a traitor. He was no more a friend of black people than George Bush was a friend of white people. He's a poss. Okay? That's it. That's my opinion of Barack Obama. Thank God I live in America. And Hillary Clinton, I've got no regard. She's Look, man, look into the foundation. I don't know why more of this isn't coming out in the mainstream media, because they're lapdogs for the higher evildoers. They buy them out, man. The monopolies used to be against the law. Now they monopolize. The evildoers have monopolies on everything. Okay? The mainstream media is one of those things, particularly the syndicated national media. But why they don't talk about what they did in Haiti, stealing from these people, this fund, this Clinton fund they set up, the foundation, is sickening, these people. I've got no regard for the Clintons or the Obamas. None at all. These people are idiots to tell you, oh, Barack Obama was great, and won't tell you what he did. Okay, nothing. Nothing good. Homelessness just got worse during his reign of terror. Poverty got worse. The national debt doubled during his reign of terror. Barack Obama, come on, give me a break. He's a Benedict Arnold to the American people. Hillary Clinton's. Bill Clinton, he's Slick Willie. He's the one that got rid of that Glass-Steagall Act. It was a leash on the bankster class. Huge favor to the bankster, gangster, criminal, corrupt class. I got no regard for these people. None. None at all. They're traitors. Just traitors, man. Just traitors to the American people. Traitors. But just so people know that I'm just not making stuff up. Okay, I go to reliable sources. That's the only kind of stuff I want to parrot. It's like this. I made an analogy of what they did. It's like, being at the end of your shift, working as in an exquisite garden. You're a gardener, you're a landscaper, right? So that's what Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are doing. You're at the end of your shift, and what you do is you know about a hornet's nest in the garden. So what you do right before you leave your shift, instead of just telling, the next guy that's going to relieve you, there's a hornet's nest. I don't want to deal with it, but, there's a hornet's nest there. What you do instead is you give it a good swift kick, and then you run off. Like bratty, snot-nosed, spoiled kids would do something like that. Mean, malicious, vindictive, right? Malicious. It's malevolent, right? So that's the kind of thing they did, and then they run off, and so Trump he's experiencing that with this flood of desperate migrants coming up from the south to the north. That's what's going on here. Okay, that he did it. You see, there's this lag period that happens toward when they like Slick Willie in office, this Glass-Steagall. That's what led up to the '08 bailout. The need for that. He let these people off their leash. And so, yes, like snot-nosed, bratty kids in a candy store, they're going to just wreck up the joint and blame somebody else and profit from it and get more control, power. That's what these people love. They're freaks, man. So the psycho killer in El Paso at the Walmart killed 22 people. And how many lives are affected by this? How many people are critically injured? God, it's horrific, man. It's sick, freaking demon-possessed person. But, it's like the mainstream media. It's all eyes on the beast. Hail the beast. We're just going to let's give this guy a lot of attention. So what's it? It's a signal to the next mass shooter out there. It says, wow, look at all the attention I'll get if I do this. I'll be famous. They don't realize there is a term called infamous. Okay, hated. Okay, forevermore. No. And don't believe in God. We're not going to talk about atheism, and people that revere and fear God, they would never do something like that because they don't want to fall into the hands of an angry God. No, the mainstream media is not going to talk about solutions like that, of just how evil it is and how dare you, and leave it at that. And just say this is wrong, but, we face a lot of other dangers out there in the world. Dubious war and all these suicides is one of those things that are true, that are related to these dubious wars. We got the psycho in Dayton that he killed his own sister, point blank, at 9 people or something like that. Sick. I like this guy, Chris Hedges. I listen to. He's an economist, very knowledgeable guy. But I disagree with some of the stuff he gets into. I mean, he seems to be a bit of a socialist, and he doesn't talk about the fact that we haven't had true capitalism. You see, he's not defining the terms. People need terms defined. If you're going to have an effective, productive conversation, you've got to have a meeting of the minds as to the terminology you're using. You might think it's rudimentary terminology and everybody ought to understand it, but they don't. Politics, people think Democrat, Republican. Government, people think bureaucrats and politicians. But who's the true government? It's we the people. Okay? People talk capitalism, they don't know what true capitalism versus crony capitalism is and how completely different they are. I mean, they're night and day, the effect thereof. One creates a rising tide of prosperity across the board, true capitalism, supply and demand, free market, risk and competition, all that kind of stuff is involved in true capitalism, versus pseudo-capitalism, where, we got a plunge protection team. You can never lose if you do this. So, I mean, that's absurd. No competition, no risk. I mean, that's not capitalism. And then supply and demand, we know that we can have a total abundance of everything. It could be dirt cheap. That's supply and demand. That's capitalism. That's the way it ought to be, stamping houses out like pancakes. They get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and older houses, like an older car, gets worth less in value unless it's a classic that's completely cherried out, right? You see, but, is Chris Hedges, as much as I like the guy, and I think he's got a lot of integrity and he's honest, and I admire the crap out of that in an economist. They're very rare birds, okay, that would do that. I still don't think he's, helping people understand these words, these terms that we bandy about all the time. And you've got to have that in order to have a meeting of the minds, to have an effective conversation. Words must be defined, because if you're thinking one thing in your head, I'm thinking another thing in my head, and we're having a conversation using these terms, it's unproductive. It's that simple. So I just wanted to put that out there. I already talked extensively about Roundup and why I'm so ticked off about this, what happened. But, there ought to be Roundup police. It's not regulated at all. The homeowner's able to get this stuff. I mean, how many people does the mainstream media say will never use it on a windy day, and the risk of drift and your neighbors breathing it in or getting on their plants, and how that some plants are very sensitive? Do they try to educate you about that? And the fact that you, the taxpayer, are paying for what the landscaper's spraying, and the farmer, because he's got 100% write-off on those products because he's using them in the line of his work? Are they educating you about this? No, California's supposed to be leading the way, the cutting edge of the greenie movement. And yet, where's the EPA in California? There's no police out there watching these guys, policing it. No. As long as they did say, hey, it's completely harmless, and these people are crazy to say that you get cancer from it, there's something wrong with them, then they don't need to regulate it. They don't need rules. They don't need to go out there. They just need a little label on it, and that's it. So we got no rules, no cops, cancer for all, and we the people get to pay for it through our taxes. I just don't understand, with everything that's come out, why anybody would still use this crap. And when I see my peers using this stuff, it triggers me, man, and I can't help it. But next time I'm going to be sweet as peaches, sweet as punch. But it's madness that people would still use this stuff, but it is indicative and emblematic of the way our system works. People still prescribe to believing that high housing costs are good as long as it's on their side of the ledger. Wow, the value of my house went up, even though fewer and fewer people can be homeowners. The majority of California residents are renting. Do you hear this from the mainstream media? Are they trying to educate you? They're supposed to be the cutting edge educators. What are they informing you about this stuff? How do they reconcile that? Do they point out that your money is diluted, it's worth less when the price of stuff goes up? Do they point that out? And how it affects those at the lowest rung of the ladder, economic ladder, the most, how it hurts them? how it creates the need for the social welfare state to throw a few crumbs to these people so that they don't get disgruntled and they end up with a bloody revolt on their hands? No, the mainstream media is not doing jack squat to educate you about this stuff. They sicken me.